A warm welcome to all of you to Varier'S Academy's new episode. Today is 6th August. It is another important day in the world. We all are in a shock after the huge explosion which took place in Beirut on 2 days before only. Today we are thinking about that day which took place in 1945 after the Second World War. That is Hiroshima and Nagasaki explosion. The Second World War ended with the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by US. That day was 6th August 1945. So we are going to discuss about Hiroshima Day today.
On the first Monday of August at 8:15 in the morning in the year 1945, the world changed. A B-29 warplane flying above 9,000 meters opened its doors. Over the next 43 seconds, a weapon of meteoric force hurtled toward Earth. At around 600 meters above the Japanese city of Hiroshima, neutrons within the bomb began to split uranium-235 atoms. A chain reaction of profound tragedy had begun, ending with the death of about 140,000 people. Shadows were seared into stone from the blinding light of the blast. The force of the explosion was equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT, pushing a mushroom cloud more than 18,000 meters into the atmosphere. Every building within 1.5 kilometers of the epicenter effectively vaporized. Fires erased many of the structures that remained in more distant areas of the city, while a poison of radiation seeped into the very genetics of those who survived the impact. The following day, medical teams from the Japanese Red Cross arrived in Hiroshima from neighboring cities. Miraculously, their hospital was spared. While doors and windows were missing and a portion of the roof had collapsed, more than 31,000 patients were treated there in the 3 weeks that followed. 2 days later, minutes just after 11 o'clock in the morning on August 9th, tragedy struck once more. A 21 kiloton plutonium bomb detonated in the city of Nagasaki, killing around 74,000 people. On August 29th, the International Committee of the Red Cross was able to deploy Fritz Bilfinger, the first foreign observer to arrive at the scene in Hiroshima. He wrote, "City wiped out, 80%, all hospitals destroyed or seriously damaged. Inspected 2 emergency hospitals, conditions beyond description, full stop." A week later, Dr. Marcel Junot, the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross's delegation in Japan, arrived in the city with 15 tons of medical supplies as the first foreign doctor on the ground. Meanwhile, the same week, less than a month after the attacks, the ICRC was already questioning the lawfulness of atomic weapons and appealing to states to ban their use. The greater the destructive power of war, the greater the necessity to spread the light of humanity into the infinite darkness. 5 years after the bombings, the death toll had reportedly reached 340,000 from sustained injuries, complications, and radiation poisoning. The Japanese Red Cross hospitals in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are still treating thousands of survivors and their descendants afflicted with birth defects to this day. This must never happen again.
Now we will see about Hiroshima Day. The United States detonated 2 nuclear weapons over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6th and 9th, 1945 respectively, with the consent of the United Kingdom as required by the Quebec Agreement. the two bombings killed between 1,29,000 and 2,26,000 people, most of whom were civilians and remained the only users of nuclear weapons in armed conflict. We all know the Second World War or World War II ended with the Hiroshima and Nagasaki explosions. It was a conflict involved virtually in every part of the world during the year 1939 to 45. And the principal participants were the Axis powers, that is Germany, Italy and Japan, and the Allies, France, Great Britain, the US, the Soviet Union, and also to a lesser extent China. Now we will discuss how the World War II ended. In the final year of World War II, the Allies prepared for a very costly invasion of the Japanese mainland. This undertaking was preceded by a conventional and firebombing campaign which devastated 67 Japanese cities. The war in Europe had concluded when Germany signed its instrument of surrender on May 8, 1945, and the Allies turned their full attention to the Pacific theatre. The Allies called for the unconditional surrender of the Imperial Japanese Armed Forces in the Potsdam Declaration on July 26, 1945, the alternative being prompt and utter destruction. Japan ignored the ultimatum and the war continued. By August 1945, the Allies' Manhattan Project had produced two types of atomic bombs, and the 509th Composite Group of the United States Army Air Forces, that is SAF, was equipped with the specialized silver plate version of the B-29 Super Fortress that could deliver them from Tinian in the Mariana Islands. The Allies issued orders for atomic bombs to be used in 4 Japanese cities on July 25th. On August 6th, one of the modified B-29s dropped a uranium gun-type bomb that is called Little Boy on Hiroshima. Another B-29 dropped a plutonium implosion bomb that is called Fat Man on Nagasaki 3 days later, on 9th August. The bombs immediately devastated their targets. Over the next 2 to 4 months, the acute effects of the atomic bombings killed between 90,000 and 1,46,000 people in Hiroshima and 39,000 and 80,000 people in Nagasaki. Roughly half of the deaths in each city occurred in the first day. Large numbers of people continued to die for months afterward from the effects of burns, radiation sickness and other injuries compounded by illness and malnutrition. In both cities, most of the dead were civilians, although Hiroshima had a sizable military garrison. Finally, Japan surrendered to the Allies on August 15, 6 days after the Soviet Union's declaration of war and the bombing of Nagasaki. The Japanese government signed the instrument of surrender on September 2nd in Tokyo Bay, which effectively ended the Second World War. So, every year on 6th August, people all over the world celebrate the Hiroshima Day. So, this year, 2020, is the 75th year of walking the path of atomic bomb. Hiroshima Day commemorates the remembrance of the bombing attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States during the World War II in 1945. The day aims to promote peace, politics against the war. I hope everyone has liked this video. If you have liked this video, please like, share and also comment. And if you have not subscribed so far, please subscribe to this channel. I will be providing more and more information about current affairs and GK. Thank you so much for watching. Take care all of you. Bye bye.